Nature is really cool. One of the most fascinating plants that I know of is one called the resurrection fern. And you can see it growing along the limb of this great old live oak tree. You can see all these beautiful green fronds. But what's interesting about resurrection fern, which comes through in its name, is that these can actually appear to die back and then they resurrect with the first rain. This plant can actually lose 97% of its water and with a single rain become completely rehydrated. These plants can go 100 years or more without water and resurrect. So you can see the name is very appropriate. Just one of nature's little miracles, and isn't it beautiful? You know, it's really astonishing to me what a single plant can do. This plant is a great example of a ground cover. Do you have an area in your yard where maybe something doesn't grow on the ground, like grass, because there's too much shade, because of trees, or because of the shade of your house, or that it's such a highly trafficked area, grass won't grow, or you've got a slope that just keeps washing away, and you need something to stabilize it? A ground cover like this is ideal. This little plant is called winter creeper, and it's a tough, hard-working plant. It can solve a lot of problems in your landscape. For instance, this plant will take full hot sun or some shade. In the south, I think it does better with some partial shade, although it will take full sun. In the north, well, it probably needs full sun. And hey, it's not finicky. It can take just about any kind of soil as long as the soil doesn't hold water and stays wet and boggy. The other thing that's great about this plant, it's an evergreen. Yeah, all through the spring and summer it has this beautiful green foliage. Then in the fall, this very same foliage turns a beautiful sort of bronze red. Now just take a look at this bed that's planted in winter creeper. Now I couldn't see planting lawn up here next to the house like this. Let me tell you, this area gets full, hot, screaming sun in the summer. This plant just keeps ticking right along. I planted these about 18 inches apart in this bed, and within one growing season they began to knit together. And by the second growing season, you couldn't even see the ground because they had completely covered it. So you're probably asking, how does this plant do that? Well, you see it puts out these long runners, and just on the underside you'll see these tiny little aerial roots. Those little aerial roots connect to the moist soil, the plant grows out, and over time begins to cover the ground. I don't know about you, but I love a plant that not only looks good, but solves a problem. And that's exactly what this winter creeper does. You see, here I only have to fertilize this bed once a year. And if this was grass, I would have to be fertilizing it more, and I'd obviously have to be mowing it every week. But to keep this maintained beautifully, all I have to do is raise my lawnmower up, and I can mow this just like I would the lawn, cutting off all of these little tendrils to the same height, making it very uniform. I do that twice a year and I'm finished. Hey, if you've got other problem areas around your landscape or your home, check in with us regularly because we've got some great solutions. And tell a friend about winter creeper. As a garden designer, one of the things that I really like is symmetry. It's, I guess, a classical principle. If you look at classical gardens, they're balanced and there's symmetry. And in this garden, you can certainly see it. This is on the west end of the terrace garden here at Moss Mountain Farm. What I've created is a destination, a place to come and sit and relax and just listen to the sound of the water and hear the birds, engage with nature. But in this space, what I've done is I've created a curved hedge with openings in it, with a focal point in each of the openings in the way of an eagle. And along the base of this hedge, I've created a flower bed which is full of white Sunpatiens. In the center is an oval fountain, and surrounding it are planters filled with boxwood and, again, the white Sunpatiens. Just look at these mounds of white. They look like big scoops of ice cream, don't you think? With the containers and beds in place, I can just change these out from one season to the next. For instance, in the early spring, I've used blue hydrangeas in these large containers. Then in the summer, when the temperature goes up and the sun is the brightest, I fill these containers with Sunpatiens because they can really take the heat and the sun. And just look how abundant they are. The beauty of classical design is it embraces symmetry, and the symmetrical nature of it brings harmony, which makes you feel good while you're in the space. And when it comes to the flowers, well, they're just the icing on the cake. Who doesn't want their garden to look beautiful throughout the entire growing season? That means even late in the season. So how about 5 perennials that are easy to care for, and of course, since they're perennials, are going to come back every year, that you can integrate into your garden for beautiful bloom late in the season. Let's start with these daylilies. This is one of my favorites. Blooms really late. It's the latest one I have here at the farm. It's called Autumn Minaret, and the scapes can grow up to 6 feet and plus tall, making a striking display. Now for the second perennial I'm suggesting that you use in your garden for late bloom is this one. It's called Agastaki Blue Fortune. It's wonderful. It's been blooming for almost 3 months in my garden, and it will continue right up until fall. It's the perfect plant for attracting pollinators and butterflies. And I love the color. It goes so well with yellow, which brings me to number 3, goldenrod. Now, I know a lot of people think goldenrod causes hay fever. It really doesn't. You may know it as a Native American plant, of which it is, but there's some wonderful garden cultivars you might want to consider, like this one called Fireworks. Each one of these little sprays of flowers look like, well, fireworks exploding in the air. And it's a very, very hardy perennial. Okay, perennial number 4. Ornamental grasses. There are a lot of them to choose from. I just love the textural contrast they can bring to a garden or a patio or terrace, particularly when you grow them in a container like this. I'm growing them more and more in containers because I think the look is really great. This is a type of perennial fountain grass, but there are lots of different types out there to choose from, so make sure you add some of these to your late flowering garden. Now the 5th late blooming perennial I want you to know about is Russian sage. You may already know about it, sometimes called Preservationist triplicafolia. I prefer to call it Russian sage. And this time of year, it's just finishing up its first round of blooms. So we're in zone 8A, and what I typically do toward the end of summer is I come in, and that's sort of the end of July, early August, and cut these stems back to about knee height like this. We will get a huge bloom again in October. So by cutting this one back, you're going to get gorgeous blooms well into the fall. I've got a really clever project I want to share with you, and it takes something that's really ordinary and turns it into something extraordinary. You might say that we're going to take a rustic object and apply it in a very sort of refined way. All right, now this may look like an ordinary paint can, and you know what? You're right, it is. But what we're going to do is we're going to transform this paint can into something that's really stylish. And the end result, well, it can be quite lovely. Now, to begin with, you want to start with an empty paint can. Just make sure that there's no paint left in the can. If it's dry, that's okay, but no wet paint allowed. Then you want to punch several holes in the bottom to allow for drainage, because what we're creating here is a container for plants. Now for each can, what you'll need is a 7.5 by 24 inch piece of burlap with two 2-inch slits cut out to accommodate for the 2 places where the handle attaches to the can. Now as you apply this, you just want to make sure and check that the burlap aligns properly on the can and trim off any excess. Then just place the can seam side down and apply a thin layer of outdoor use adhesive to the bottom and the top edges of the face of the can. Then simply affix the burlap to the can starting in the middle and pressing it into the adhesive. After allowing the front to dry, turn the can over and repeat the process on the back. You just want to make sure that you use plenty of adhesive along the entire edge of the burlap. Now when this adhesive is completely dry, trim out the area around the handles and secure it with a little more adhesive. Now finish the top and bottom of your planter out by wrapping it with just some jute or twine. All right, now with this beautiful container ready, it's time to plant it up. Now what I'm going to start with is a really high quality potting soil. This is soil that's actually blended for container gardening, and this is very important because you want to make sure that it drains well. So I'm going to just make sure that we fill this up almost to the top. What I find, if the potting soil is really kind of dry and powdery, you want to make sure you add some water to it so it's nice and moist like this. And now it's time for our plant. And I'm using some of these sage plants. This is a pineapple sage. I just take the plastic wrap off. This is a biodegradable pot. And I'm just going to take that top lip off, and this is biodegradable, so it goes in the container. And then I'm just going to gently tear into the root ball and pull the bottom off. And this is to make sure that those little roots will grow out and expand so the plant itself will grow. All right, now it's just a matter of working it into the container like this and adding just a little more soil around the edge. There we go, like that. Now, I'll water this in, and I'll make sure that the soil remains consistently moist through the growing season, fertilizing it about every other week with an all-purpose liquid fertilizer. And you get extra points if you go all organic. Now, obviously, these are two important steps, making the container and planting it. But the finish that gives it a certain elegance and refinement is the pattern and the way you apply it to a wall or a fence. It's a great way to recycle some things and add a little touch of elegance to your garden. Hey, and you're going from this to this. Not bad, huh? Now, this time of year, I hope you're out in your garden harvesting lots of fresh produce. You know, when I'm out collecting, I find I don't have enough hands or things to carry the produce in. So why not take an old t-shirt and upcycle it into a garden tote? It's easy, economical, and earth-friendly. Let me show you how. Keeping the soil consistently moist around tomatoes can make a big difference in your harvest. One of the reasons I like to do it is because with certain varieties, they have a tendency to get a little blossom end rot. Some of the heirloom varieties that have such great flavor, like this Black Krim, which is a Russian heirloom tomato, it can be a little fussy on the disease side. And you can see here, I've got some blossom end rot on these. So that told me, hey, I need to get some mulch around this soil because we're having a hotter and drier than normal summer. Keeping that soil consistently moist and trying to keep the temperature of the soil about the same, insulating it with this old rotted straw is a great way to achieve this. Now, another reason you can get blossom end rot has to do with the soil chemistry. If you have a lack of calcium in the soil, that can cause blossom end rot as well. You can actually spray your tomatoes with a calcium-infused water, which can help. We limed the soil, just using hydrated lime in the early spring to make sure that the soil pH is sweet enough. And I don't think that's my problem here. I think it's just I don't have enough moisture in the soil consistently to keep this from happening. Now, if you don't have rotted straw like this, these are just some bales of wheat straw that we had. I like to use them when they're rotting like this because the seed, any wheat seed that might be in there, has long passed its germination date and it's probably rotted, so I'm not going to get a lot of wheat coming up in the garden, which will make it look weedy. You can also use leaves. And as you can see over here, I've got a lot of leaves, and this would make a great mulch as well. To keep them from blowing around the garden, just run the lawnmower over them and chop them up a little bit, and they'll stay in place much better. So if you'll follow those tips about blossom end rot, you can say goodbye to it. Okay, you may not have as much room as this to grow tomatoes. Let me show you how you can grow them in a tiny little space. Come on. All you need is some full sun and a little bit of space, and you can grow some tomatoes and all kinds of things if you use a grow box like this. And the way the soil is kept consistently moist is this entire bottom is full of water. So you get this wicking up of the water through the soil, feeding the plants. This is a Roma tomato, and you can see that it's just loaded with fruit. Look at it over here. So even in this tiny space, I mean, this box is less than a foot wide and not even 3 feet long. So in less than 3 square feet, you can look at the basil, tomatoes. You can grow a lot more than you think if you can keep that soil consistently moist, and this device helps you do that. Are you into growing herbs? I certainly am. You won't ever see my garden without basil. Sweet basil is one of my favorites. First and foremost, it's incredibly tasty in a wide variety of dishes. Secondly, it looks beautiful in garden beds, containers, and unique arrangements. And well, lastly, it's just so easy to grow. However, there are a few tips you'll want to follow. For instance, plant it after your last frost day, and always plant in rich soil with proper drainage. Make sure it gets 6 to 8 hours of sun every day, and you'll enjoy fresh basil all summer. I actually like to plant basil 2 or 3 times during the growing season, just to make sure that I have a fresh supply of bountiful basil until the first autumn frost. So as you can imagine, I produce a lot of basil. So what do you do with all the basil you produce? How about a quiche? Hey, who doesn't love a picnic? But you know what? I like a green picnic, and I like a picnic that doesn't take a lot of time. You don't have to have the best quilt or grandma's quilt. I have this red gingham, which works really well. But the thing I did before I put this down is I used some insect repellent and sprayed the area right around here. No one likes insects showing up at their picnic. I like to go green, so I use some cloth napkins. Whenever I organize a picnic, I always try to do as much as I can ahead of time. I also like to go ahead and set the portions out for each of the guests at the picnic. Let me show you an easy way to do it. You see, you can just take these fruit jars like this. Here I have chicken salad, fruit salad, and a pasta salad. You see, by putting them in these fruit jars and sealing them, it's a great way to not have to bring any sort of plates and so forth. And once you're finished, you can just take all this back home and wash it. Now, when it comes to drinks, of course, bottled water. Love glass bottles, better for the environment. And if you're bringing along some bread and you want to keep it fresh, not stale, and you don't want it to get soggy, I'm using some biscuits, but you could also use English muffins or bagels. I wrap it with foil and then just wrap it with a napkin. Works out beautifully. For these things that need to remain cool, I keep the ice cooler in my car, and then I just drop a couple of those little ice packs inside the picnic hamper. From the garden home, I'm Alan Smith. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and be sure to ring the bell for notifications.